let me go back to it. When I became a Christian, um, I was very excited. I found something that was worth sharing with another person. And the first person I felt to share this with was my wife, and she was miles away, and my parents and my family. So I rushed back home. And when I shared this, hoping to get joy and excitement, it wasn't as such. I was naive. And my naivety took me to the extent of trying to make everybody listen to my story of how God can save our souls. And my father was getting irritated. He didn't bounce on me on the same day. It took a few weeks of watching me interact with his enemies and bring his enemies to peace and all those kind of things. And so he consulted with his friends, and his friends told him that this boy is going to bring down your home. Everywhere Christianity has gone, tradition has been crushed. So this boy is going to crush everything that you have built on. The best thing to do is to get rid of one boy and remain with the rest that will not rock the family. And so he listened to them. They reasoned with him, and he listened, and he took their advice. And so one afternoon, he pounced on me. He hired 6 people, actually. He did not himself, he did it, but he hired 6 people, some few cousins, I think probably 2 or so cousins, and some strangers who are well-built and strong, and gave them an ox plow chain with the padlock. They bound me. I was not violent, so they just bound me and chained me, threw me into my house, and locked it there, and kicked my wife out and told her to go back to her family. And she didn't go immediately. She stayed around, but later in the evening, somebody came to do the job. And this man had been paid fully to execute the job. The young men who had chained me were marking time with a spade and a fox to bury in the night, the dead of the night. And so they dragged me. They came, he started talking to me. He told me that your father has educated you. Of course, he did educate me well. Has educated you, and you have disappointed him. And so he has given me the other part of his wealth to work on you. Then I started preaching to him the gospel, telling him about Jesus. I can't remember exactly my words, but before I knew it, there was a syringe running on here, and he hit the bone of my arm. I still have that in here. The scar is still there. If I can open, you can see. The scar is there. And it went all the way and drained that whitish substance in my body. And by the time he was through with this injection, I just dropped dead. I just dropped like a dodo, and there was some kind of hallucination, what have you, I don't know how to call it, because I could still feel numb. They took off the chains, they left me there for dead. Now, my body kept on twitching, I just twitched. I twitched like that for days. Now, it's so difficult to bury, a body like that, because I was still twitching. At the same time, my mom, who colluded with him, because my mom did not stop him. But as soon as they told him he came out of the house that he has finished the job, she started wailing. So my mom's wailing and all those kind of things kind of caused the confusion in the home. And so people coming, somebody's dead here, and they tell them the story, what he has done, and they say, person says, it's crazy, what have you done? What have you done? And people started condemning him. And this went on through, they have kicked my wife in the evening, and she's somewhere in the thicket. Nobody knew where she was. She told me she went to her parents, and her parents told her, don't just go back until he's buried. It's when you come back. So I just realized where I was after several days, which could be 3.5, 4 days. My wife says 6 days. Since I was not eating anything, I don't think I would have taken that long. I wasn't eating anything. So anyway, again, the consciousness and the words that came out of my mouth was, Jesus is Lord. Jesus saves. And and that's what I got. What? But my father did not want to even move anywhere closer. I don't think they planned to do anything else, because everybody, with the noise of the villagers, my father was already a scared person, and his evil had already been seen, because what he was doing was something unimaginable. His friend that advised him were nowhere to be close to him. And so he was also struggling with the loneliness at the other side. That gave me an opportunity to strengthen up and leave. So I left the home. Something very, very strange, but I would say miraculous, is that where I went, I started preaching the gospel. There was nothing I would say than Jesus is Lord, and He saves, and I was like this is what He has done to me, and I believe He can do it to you. And people were believing me. People were coming. We were praying together. And the more I was praying with the people, the more they kept on coming. And very soon, one big church just told me, where did you get these words? Then I rushed back to Kisumu and called the missionaries that I knew used to come to my village. And they would come there. My father was tracking where I was, and he was hearing all this. 3 months later, I came home. Everybody was afraid of me and was wanting to run away. And they called me the dead man, Here's Okoth's son who died. And they were not sure whether I was walking alive, that kind of thing. So it was a little bit hard for me even to mingle with the people. But the good thing that those who care to come close to listen would hear me talk about Jesus Christ and the gospel. And members of the church, the Lord's church that were close by, took me in. And they nourished me. The missionaries that were close by in Kisumu was a mission there in Kenya. Got more interested in me, even though they didn't know what had happened to me. They only knew that I am kind of outspoken about my faith and evangelistic. So everywhere the missionary wanted to go, they would ask me to go with us, because my testimony and my words would make people come together. And for many years I did that until probably I relocated, moved in to another locality, kept on preaching the gospel. People started depending on me. The missionaries started depending on my advice and my working with the people. And it came a time that I realized that I needed to get in full-time ministry. Not paid by anybody. I probably, since I came to be a missionary here, I've never been paid by anybody to preach the gospel. I was just preaching the gospel. And so I moved in to Nairobi, started preaching the gospel, started a church in the city of Nairobi, felt the need to go to school for more education, got sucked into more education and more education and more education. But I see that God has kicked me out of the classroom twice. One, that first time that I decided on my own to resign and go to full-time ministry. I did it in Nairobi and then went back to school, and when I got into school, I got my degree and another degree, and the university got interested in me and told me, you're not leaving. You serve here. Then they employed me, and my kid got free education at that university. Right now he's PhD at Virginia Tech. And I was in the classroom. Every single lecture I began with a devotion. And I was leading the class. Say, you like it or you don't like it. It is philosophy of education, but God is the greatest philosopher, you know. And I would do all those kind of things. And my students, they only knew that none of my classes goes without a devotion. This really kind of kicked into me and made me start feeling uncomfortable. And so when I got an opportunity to get back into full-time ministry and join the Mbale mission team, I took the first opportunity to get out of that university and come into the mission field and become part of this mission team. That's how I found myself in here, and I've liked every bit of it up to now.
Tell me quickly about your father realizing what he had done and apologizing.
Okay, when I told him when we were not there, my father, 7 or 8 years down the road, I think it was 1986. That's like 7 years. My father called me. He told me, my son, I want you to come and sit here by my side. Then I sat by his side, and he could not even look at me. He told me, you know, I almost killed you, and I didn't know what I was doing. You did not die. You're still here today. Please, I want you to forgive me. I told him that I forgave you the very day that you did it, because I knew you didn't know what you were doing. I knew Christ had touched my life, and I was trying to tell you that, but you could not understand. You guys could not understand it at that time. So I forgave you. And again, I didn't have much words with him. Our relationship was not that great. He was afraid of me, and I was also living him as a parent and giving me the maximum respect necessary for a parent. My father lived with this brother for many, many years. He one time sent message to me, come home. I want you to come home. I would always run home. Even I was in from Kisumu or Nairobi, one of the two. I went home. And that I said that I have decided to be baptized and become a Christian, live a Christian life. So he took everybody in the village at 6 in the morning in the cold river. We walked, and he was baptized there. My mother followed suit several years later, and was baptized. Of course, my brothers had been baptized, my siblings and their wives, and there was a church. And one thing that I used to do is to have devotion every evening whenever I was home. When I come home, they will be singing, they will be reading scripture, they will be praying for one another, and then people go to sleep. The village wakes up that evening. So I did that for several years, every time I was going home. But again, unfortunately, we had to relocate because my wife had developed a phobia of that area, that home, where we almost died. So she could not feel comfortable. She said that, please let us get some land somewhere else. And so we relocated. So I built her a home somewhere else. So we just visit our folks. So in the year 2005, I was, of course, full-time going ministry. I went preaching somewhere, and I had not finished. It was like a 1 week session, and I had already gotten my visa to go to the U.S. I was going to Brentwood Hills Church of Christ in Nashville, Tennessee. I don't know whether you know Jesse Clayton. He's my good friend. He's an elder in that church. I was going to visit with them on behalf of Nairobi Great Commission School that they support. And so I got a phone call from my wife that, where are you? I said, I'm here. Come back home. I said, why? Your father is here and he wants to see you. They said that, hey, I am very closer to home than Nairobi. Let him come over and see me. We can talk there. She went back and told him there, and he said, no. I am talking to him in this house. I'm not going anywhere. He was afraid that he was going to miss me, or maybe I was playing games. I didn't want to see him. So my wife came back to the phone and said, your father said that he's not going anywhere. And if you're not coming home, the day you choose to come, you'll find him alone in the house. I'm gone. I'm not going to be with him in the house. I know she was going to go, because she always felt very uncomfortable with that man around, and my mom. So I came home. I took him to a resort like this, and he talked. He relived the whole thing again. He told me that, I almost killed you. And I thought that you are good for nothing, son. You ended up being the one that helped me most in my life. You have given me everything a father would want his son to give. It's true. Everything my father ever asked of me, I would give him. I would buy him ox plow. I would buy him bulls to plow his farm. I would give him money to educate some of his children back home there. I would send him clothes. So he was telling the truth. And he told me, please, forgive me. Bring my grandchildren back home. That was not easy request, because I already built my family elsewhere. Yeah. But he was in tears for that. Bring me back my grandchildren. Please forgive me. And when I arrived, I could not sleep at night, jet lag or something like that. So I decided to browse and send mail. When I looked at the first mail, Dad collapsed and died. He had just come to bid me farewell in Nairobi. The blanket he asked me to buy for him was not actually a blanket he wanted. That's how African old wazirs tell their children that they are going. It's just cover me with a blanket. I'm going. But I didn't understand. I was so young to understand that. So I didn't translate that. I would have gone with him home. I would have done whatever. But I put him in a bus and all that kind of thing. Maybe, I don't know. I was naive. But anyway, back home, when I came back from escorting to the bus stop, he talked to my wife. He asked Mary, I sent you a letter. I wrote a letter and sent somebody with it to bring to you. Did you receive my letter? My wife said, yes, I received your letter. What do you say about it? She was honest. She said that I didn't read it. I threw it in the trash. Of course, she couldn't. It was traumatic. So my wife was sincere. She said that, I'm sorry, we called them grandfather. Sorry, grandfather. I didn't read your letter. I threw it in the trash. And he thought about it, and my wife tells him, because I was not there, he tells me that he said that I wrote you that letter to ask you to forgive me. I mistreated you. I almost killed you with a spear. I mistreated your husband. He's my son, my eldest son. And in that letter I wrote to you to find it in your heart to forgive me. My wife didn't say anything. She just reported that to me. That was the last week that man lived. He died. He died that week. I look back with a lot of fond memories of him and beauty, and God used him. Hey, if you know where I came from, I needed that dose. I would be a fake or just a lousy Christian. Something revolutionary had to happen, like what happened to me, to rip me off that village. My father was a shaman. My father used to help the community communicate with the dead spirits and soothe them and sacrifice for them. My father was respected and feared because if anybody had bad dreams or the dead person comes back to torment people, he would know what to do and who to call so that that is soothed or exorcised. He wanted his eldest son, who is me, to take after him. He was coaching me. He knew the Western education is good today. He gave me the best Western education there is, more than any child that he has ever had. That is how much he banked on me. And so, he was mad that I trusted that. God also wanted me so much that to get me, he had to use him the way he did, and also save me to give the testimony. I look back today. It has been very difficult for me to put that in writing, but I look back and I sometimes just smile on how God works. Brother, of course my wife knows that I am a dead man, but let me tell you this. I am a dead man. I'm alive because of Jesus Christ. If not Christ is being... I know we have a human flesh. I'm weak. I can be tempted to be weak, but you don't know how many times I have gone on my knees and told God that if I am to embarrass you in this body, please take me home. Just take me home. The strategy must change. We have been planting churches over the years, and all those churches are all baby churches, irrespective of when they were planted. And there was total need for leadership training at a higher level to be able to help these churches survive. And so we went down to the drawing board and started strategizing on how best we can do this. The only way forward for this mission to sustain the 300 plus churches is to disciple the leadership. We are working on that. Everywhere we have gone, we have realized that 98-point-something% of our churches are just baby churches without trained leadership or discipled leadership. And these babies are keeping on giving birth to other babies, and that is creating a total confusion out there, that if nothing is done, then we are just building with straw, and we do not want to build with straw. So I do think that the strategy, the approach that we are having for this year, beginning this year, is the best this mission can have at this particular time. There was a time of church planting. They did what they did. At least we have a pool of people to begin with, but the people must be trained to take responsibility. Time is going to come when there will be donor fatigue, that there will be no American going out as a missionary. No fund comes to Africa to do mission work, but those who are there before must make sure that they mature people who can move the church to the next level without donor funding. This is the only approach we realize we should have, and we are working on it. We have started on it. We have chosen people that we have looked in their hearts and seen that are genuine and are servant leaders that we can begin this work with. We do not know how long it will take us, but one thing that I do know is that however big the work is, start from somewhere. And we are starting from somewhere. We do not know where the funding is going to come from, but fund best comes in when you are already on the way. That's when you can even appeal for funds. When what we are doing is a scene, not talk. And so we are moving away from the talk level to the practical level. And we are very anxious about it, optimistic about it. And I'm glad that God brought this man here, because that mentality, I have looked at our literature since 1995. We talk about discipleship, evangelism, but on a lesser note, just on mentioning only, nothing practical ever happened. Of course, we have a Bible college here, Theological Institute, called Messiah Theological Institute. I have tried to look for ways to make that practical, that can really turn the table around. It's not easy. You have to destroy the whole foundation to begin anew. And so I do believe that, yeah, God allowed it to go to that level, up to that point. But at the same time, what happened, the storm that came into this mission and sidelined some of us, was necessary storm that caused a ripple effect that can help us to work. I'm looking at it positively. God does not allow things to happen without any cause, because I do think we could get a lot of resistance if that did not happen. But right now, this is very fresh in both of us, very, very fresh. And as fresh as it is, we have the willpower. Everyone who knows me, I'm a people person. I disciple people. I make friends and not let them go. That's who I am. And so that is what we call discipleship. It has been really burning inside me. I was not on the steering wheel before, because I couldn't, how I came in here. But now that I am here, and both of us probably is holding one side of the steering wheel, I'm holding the other part, or he's pressing on the gas and I may clutch a little bit on the brakes, but we are a team, very excited to do discipleship that will help our churches to survive, that will take our churches from being a baby to young adult to fully grown adults that will plant churches. We do not, personally, I know and I believe, missionaries cannot plant churches. A missionary cannot come into a new culture and start planting churches. If the best thing he can do, he can be an advisor. He can help train some people who know how that culture works inside out. And those ones can plant churches in their own culture, and they will be their own churches. And the church planted in this culture is an American church. We don't want to plant American churches in Africa. That's the kind of thing. We even worship. It's too tempting to take our way of worshiping in America to make us feel comfortable. But this is a totally different culture. We must have an African worship that is acceptable to God. We are mature enough to know the boundary, but we must do things in such a way that when we leave someday, we are sure that coming 20 years down the road, the work survived. That is what we are gearing ourselves for. I know the devil is getting irritated because of what we are just about to do is going to overturn the conceit that he has put on this church over the years. And we are not afraid of that. I'm not afraid of the devil. None of us is afraid of the devil. We can get him head on and face the reality and move this church to the next level. You are partnering with us. Thank you for that, because I do not know. Probably nobody would tell how this church would look like if this man was not here, was not brought at the time that he came. I wouldn't know. But God knows how he works his ways. He knows how he just kind of excited this man to come at the time that he came. And right now, yeah, he is me, I'm him. We are together. We're working together. It's really exciting, guys.
I missed the, when I was having the battery issues, I missed the, when you were talking about when it transitioned from Sean to JP. Can you do that part again?
That transition?
Yeah, remember when you talked about how things were and then JP came?
Yeah.
I missed that part.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably
missions philosophy and methodology,
Yeah.
you know, it was different. Church planting and
Yeah,
then
yeah. Before, um, over the years, it has been how many churches can you plant in 1 year? And that's what was, and we have a chart that indicates that by such a year, we shall have reached all over Uganda with churches in every district. And so the philosophy was like church planting, but never thinking on the other side that as we plant the churches, who is taking care of those churches? That was never a thought. And and again, we are trying our level of best to bring people in to the theological institute, and get 1 week instruction. 1 week instruction is not any meaningful discipleship. It ended up turning to be head knowledge, just training, academic, more of academic than discipleship.
which isn't bad.
It's not so bad, but
it's not complete.
It's not complete. It's not everything. It's not everything. So when the time came that Sean had to leave, I think we came back to the drawing board. Of course, anybody going into a new work must want to know how have you been working and how can we move on. So I think very quickly God allowed him to see through that window that there is a missing link here. The weighing machine is skewed. It's not balanced. Education is not balancing with with the discipleship that probably ought to mature leadership for the church. And so, as much as we keep on with education, we need to lift this forgotten baby that is very, very important and necessary. And that's how we are now partnering
and
to move on.
Heart level.
Oh yeah, it's a heart level. Again, over the years, of course, when I came here, I am an educationist. Right from the very beginning, I went to a government training school, and the government trained me to be a school teacher. And then I went for further training and all that kind of taught in college, I taught at university. And when I came here, it was so easy for me to get into Messiah Theological Institute. And just disseminate that. And so there was very little thought in me that to take that away from the head level to the heart level, so that at least something becomes practical, hand level, you know what I mean? So when these people will be ready to go out and be true parents, then we shall have realized our dream of maturing the African church. I do not know. I know there are challenges like any other work. There are challenges because the previous sponsoring mission or churches are used to reports of how many churches you have planted. We are not going to. We do not want to go there. We really do not want to go there, because the truth of the matter is, we are going to start changing that. How many people have you discipled that are going out to plant churches? That's how we are changing the table. But it's not going to happen overnight. So
what are we going to do? Here's the question. What's the reality of some people not being able to stay with us when we make this change? Like maybe it's just too extreme for them.
Yeah.
Of course. What can happen?
You would be so naive to expect 100% return on your investment. I do believe that there are people who are used to the old methods. There are some dogs that you can never teach new tricks, and you have to accept that. It's going to be a very unfortunate situation, but I'm not naive enough not to expect that happening. But I want to say this, that even if some people will feel uncomfortable and leave, they will admire what's going on when they see it.
They may come back.
They may come back, of course. They may come back. When Sean changed the strategy of church planting and dismissed all the councillors, several of them left. They said that, now what? You're taking it away from the only thing we knew how to do, that kind of thing. So they left. But then they realize that it can work. God has called each one of us to live his Christian life, not to plant churches. And so some of them have become sensible enough and are coming back. I mean, Stephen and back. I mean, we can name a few. They are coming back. They did not go anywhere. Another good thing about the churches of Christ Christian churches that we work with. By the way, we have worked with Christian churches in Kenya, Churches of Christ and Christian churches since 1977, without knowing that in America there are two different bodies.
Even in America,
yeah.
Even in America now, those two are coming back together.
Oh, yeah.
We see the Christian Church and Church of Christ even reconciling, coming together again, saying it's good for us to be together.
Exactly. Anyway, we have worked along like that together so much that even now when we look back, we have the leadership that have gone beyond affiliation, but all they want is to serve God faithfully and walk with him righteously. And so I do believe that those people are out there, even the people who would think that this is a very radical change would look and realize that it's true. We are not where we are supposed to be, and these people are taking us where we need to be, and they will join us.
Okay, so now,
yep,
we're just right now where we are, we're just days away from beginning with these 9 guys. The question is, what do you feel like you're the most excited about as we begin with these 9? What excites you the most?
Okay, number one thing, their willingness to be part of this, because there has to be some sacrifice. They have to sacrifice. They're going to sacrifice their time to be with us. Their willingness to humble themselves and be around the table and start afresh.
Humble themselves from what? What do they need to humble themselves from?
Oh, I mean, right now they think they are adults.
Parents.
They're parent Christians. While in every aspect you look around, there is nothing that shows that they are. I mean, I cannot go back to my father and everything I need, I say, hey, Daddy, give me this. Hey, Daddy, give me this. I cannot do this. Send me there. No. And if that is what is in them, then they are not parent Christians. But then their willingness to come down and start from baby class. I'm just excited to see how this grows. How around the table, kind of comes. And I desire openness. If telling the truth, that's something that we have talked about. It's not going to mean to them victimization in any way, so much that they speak with open hearts. I will be happy, because that is a hindrance, serious hindrance here. In this culture, a leader is always right, and he may be telling lies and nobody should stand up and say you're lying. And if you say something that is right and the leader doesn't feel, you are condemned for it. You are put down for it. And we are going against that grain. It's okay to stand up and say the truth. Truth is what the Bible rewards. Honesty is what the Bible rewards. That's what we want. So their feelings, expressing their feelings to us as we walk through, will be something exciting to me.
What about this? What do you see is going to happen when we move outside of the classroom environment and sit around a table instead with tea, and mandazi? And how do you see the advantage?
Yeah, you are taking them from the traditional feeling that they have always had. They have gone through the classroom training where you sit and you are instructed, but this is going to be relational. And if they can be able to be comfortable with being informal in one way, of course we are going to be directing and guidance, but it's going to be very, very informal, so that they open themselves up and realize that this is how you disciple somebody. Discipling somebody means walking the journey with the person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I want them to know my weaknesses and my strengths, and we share that. I want to know their weakness and strength, and we share that, and we become together.
Talked about.
Yep.
Still be able to take back and share. Awesome. I met a guy. There's a guy, Matt, in Rwanda. Here's what's really encouraging, Dennis.
Yeah.
He's doing what we're doing,
Yeah.
but he's further along. So this is what he said. He said, whenever the right time is, I want to bring my guys from Rwanda, these nationals, to visit you in Uganda, to talk about what happens when you get outside of the church and into the home.
Okay. And you know,
Because these guys are in the homes now. They're doing these groups that we talked about. You know?
brother, let me tell you this, that it's not like the word discipleship has not been used and known all around, but it was just behind the veil there. I mean, how many? Sam is very close to me. I mean, we work together. As soon as Sam heard that I'm here and I'm involved in training in the mission here, he offered to bring that discipleship thing here, and said that we don't want your discipleship here. And so he was discouraged, but I knew he was talking about discipleship, but then it just went away. But then we thought also that we are doing discipleship in our own way, which in the actual sense is non-existent. So it's not existent. Evangelism is not discipleship.
Right, you're right. It's not.
It's not.
And it's part of it, but it's not a total.
So what we're doing is what he just said is really important, because what we've done, and when I say done, I mean for 17 years here in Uganda, has been a certain model, and discipleship has not been a part of that model.
Yeah.
And so when you ask, so how are you going to begin? We have to very slowly at first talk with all of these leaders about why we're doing this, so they understand, you know, and it's going to make sense fairly quickly, but it's something that we're going to have to repeat with them as to why.
That, the way you have worked that book out, there's a lot of repeat. It's in the African spirit. I don't know how you learned that.
I don't either.
But the African spirit is repetition.
Yeah.
We were oral society, and repeating something really was what made something sink in. And I'm excited about this. I'm going to give another. I'm going to go back to my conversion there. But before I forget, before I say that, I don't want to forget this, that the Happy Church and the eldership of your church moved at the right time. God wanted them to be involved somewhere like here. This work without what we are doing now would crumble after 17 years. Now, God is God of missions. A church that is not involved in missions does not touch the heart of God, because God cares for missions. You guys have decided to get involved actively in this mission work that God knew must take a different stage and level of operation to survive. I just want to encourage you to sacrifice for that. This cause is just, it's necessary, it's needed. It's something that is going to touch God's heart, probably to give extra joy to what you're doing in your own congregation, and to excite the whole congregation when you hear what's happening here. Because this is a 17-year work that God knows that would crumble if this, the strategy that is now coming up through your own congregation to save that work. I really feel, I know I could talk about the other partners that we have had, but we are we are yet to buy them into this fully. I'm not sure, but I believe we are going to buy them into this. This is realistic, and I've been talking with Harold Rules a lot about this, and I know they are with us, but not very sure probably. But for the other side, I mean, your congregation, I think you are beginning on something that really needed to be done, something that really needed a missionary to do. I mean, I'm here, I wouldn't do it because I really have never gone through even that book. I'm seeing it for the first time. If you had not come, would I have ever known anything like that? I think without you, I would have perpetuated what has been in the last 17 years. But maybe I would not have succeeded. But this time I know this is the sure way of moving our churches to the next level, grounding them so that they become parent churches, and we have with parent leaders that can reach out for the Lord. That's the beauty of this.
Dennis is talking about how easy it is to understand the discipleship journey when you lay it out: spiritually dead, infant, child, young adult, parent. How that translates so quickly here. People they understand that concept immediately, but it's going to take years of walking with someone and journeying with someone, you know. But they understand it. They recognize, even they can identify where they are. They can even say, well, I'm just here. I haven't grown past this place. I'm stuck here. You know? And that's the thing. Some people will identify it immediately. Others will say, I'm a parent. But they're not. So I think to Dennis's point, the humility of those leaders to say, I'm willing to go back. And what does this look like as we walk together? And that's the thing that they don't know, right, Dennis?
Yeah.
Nobody here... Well, talk about this for a minute. Why don't you talk about how many people here have experienced someone coming alongside of them and saying, I want to journey with you one-on-one so you can learn the Bible, learn to be like Christ and obey. How many people,
Not that I know of. To be sincere with you, when you asked me that question very first time, I could pinpoint Larry Stephen. Yes, intentionally walking with me, wanting me to do everything the way he was doing it. Whether right or wrong, I would learn along the way. We'd learn together.
Imitate me as I imitate
Exactly. To the extent that I am what I am. Everybody, even all these missionaries, the relationship between Dennis Okoth and Larry, 20 years. 20 years I worked with that brother. 20 years. And of those 20 years, I was my own self. He was himself. But we worked together. He mentored me.
And now you mentor me.
Yeah. And so, again, when I came here and asked such a question, I didn't get an answer for a given reason that I don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
And what does that tell you? It tells you that none of these people have experienced what we want to expose them to. None. Just none. Because this was confirmed to me by a missionary, that we have not done it and we cannot do it. They have your own reasons, but our reason is biblical. We have to disciple people. Jesus sent his followers to go and make disciples. This is what we want to do, making disciples for Christ. Yeah.
So can you guys see how big the work is?
Oh,
now?
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, no one
No.
has ever walked this, what we're going to do.
No.
We're starting with 9.
We're starting with
When's
9
your first meeting with these guys?
Next week.
next week.
This week? It's going to be a 2-day meeting?
Yeah.
Are they able to get away from their...
Yeah.
Is it going to be on the weekend or the weekday?
It's going to be close to the weekend, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They leave on Saturday. 2 full days. And what we mean by full is Dennis and I get there in the morning, breakfast, worship, praise, discussion, tea,
Yeah.
more discussion, study, lunch. You know what I mean? I mean, like,
IT.
Yeah.
yeah, full,
Yeah.
solid, all dinner. You know, I mean, everything but sleeping there.
Right.
That's true. Yep,
So that's a lot of time
Yeah.
with some guys.
Yeah.
And that's the only way we can do it now because it's too hard to get into the villages, you know, with all the guys.
Yeah, that's true.
But honestly, this is what we want to see. And we're not rushing it, but one day the day will come where instead of them coming to us,
yeah.
they're out there making disciples in their villages.
Yeah.
And that's where it's even going to take deeper root because that's life on life every day.
Every day, yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's not 2 days a month. That's
Right.
daily.
Yeah.
But it's got to start somewhere. And it's going to start with these two guys trying to walk the road with some guys, you know.